You're locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio. It's the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. If you are living in chronic pain, or you have some kind of an autoimmune disease, then you really want to pay attention to the conversation I'm about to have with today's guest. I'm speaking with Cheryl Meyer. She suffered from autoimmune disease, and by eliminating toxins, she reversed her pain. She has a BA from UC-Berkeley. She is a health coach. She is an award-winning author, an international bestseller, health coach, speaker, local TV host, and guest podcaster. So she encourages you to listen to your body and to own your own health. Cheryl, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you and to find out more about how you help people become pain-free. That is such a debilitating thing. If you're in pain, you can't think about anything else. You can't think about building a business or anything else that you want to do, so long as you're in pain. So this is really, really important for people who are struggling. Before we get into that, tell us a little bit more about yourself. How did you get interested in this, and what's your story?
Well, I was an entrepreneur. I had my own jewelry business. I designed jewelry that I manufactured in Asia, and then I shipped to most of the major big box jewelers here in America. But like most female entrepreneurs, at least, I was working all the time. And so I didn't pay attention to my body when it was trying to tell me that my toxic load was building. And it gave me plenty of signals, but they flitted past my brain so fast I didn't stop to think about it. And there were a couple precursors that came right before the big 2x4 came down on my head. I woke up one morning and my lips and my tongue and my eyes were swollen. And I figured out that was from fabric softener, but it was really an indication that there's something called toxic load. And mine had been building for 20 years, and it finally reached the top so that I woke up one morning and I literally couldn't move. Everything hurt. Every joint, every muscle, everything. So I went to the doctor. I had a conventional doctor. She ran lots of tests. She ran them 4 different times. Finally, she called me and said, I'm going to give you steroids, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. I said, I got news for you. I hurt.
It's all in your head, right?
Yeah, it's all in my head. I said, something's wrong with me. And so I had a very good staff. I turned my business over to them and I dug in. And I tripped into what's known as the functional medical community. And they were running a series of symposiums at the time. And I listened to 19 of them with multiple doctors talking about why they became functional practitioners, because most of them got sick and couldn't help themselves. And it kept coming back to, I probably had something called leaky gut. I probably had autoimmune disease. And so I started researching, what could I do myself for leaky gut and for autoimmune? And the first thing I could do is learn how to lower my stress. Well, I was one of those people who thought chasing the tiger all the time and being chased by the tiger was a good thing. Guess what? It's not. My cortisol was down to almost nothing. I was almost to Addison's disease. So I learned a series of little 2 and 3 minute exercises that I still do every couple of hours to release the steam off the crock pot and bring my chronic stress down so it doesn't go to a critical level. And it actually improves my productivity while I'm working. So they're great exercises to know. And then the second thing was I could eliminate toxins. So I thought, okay, I dug in and I was appalled because everything in my life was toxic. I had no idea. My makeup that I've been using that I was spending a fortune on from France was a 9 on a 10-point scale. I never even really understood. I'm in California, and we ran to try to stop GMOs, and it lost. And it lost because of so much misinformation. We didn't really understand what it was. So as I started digging into what it was easy to eliminate, but no wonder we're getting sick. And they're everywhere. They're in our kitchens. They're in our Teflon pans that are, there's no birds that fly over the DuPont factory because that Teflon stuff is that poisonous. Plastic. We all drink water out of plastic. We pay 1,200 times more for it. And guess what? The plastic is leaching toxins into the water that we're drinking. And the water in that bottle is even less regulated than the water coming out of your tap. Wow. Which could be as bad as Flint, Michigan. It's all over this country that we've got problems with our water system. So when I finally finished, literally, I had eliminated hundreds of toxins. I found my own functional doctor. She confirmed that I had autoimmune disease. Her approach to me was totally different than my conventional doctor. And between the two of us, after 5 years of doing all this, I no longer had pain, which was huge. And I have met so many people since then who have no hope because their doctors either don't know what they have, or they tell them it's in their head, or they don't know what to do about it themselves. And sometimes they're not willing to do anything about it themselves. So my first big message is own your own health. Don't let anybody tell you you're not going to get well, because if you're determined, you're going to find ways to improve your body and your health. So that's my first key. And then don't accept, whatever they're telling you. Keep digging. Find your own functional doctor. You can actually go to ifm.org and find one. There's lots of things you can do for yourself, but it all starts with food. Food quality matters. If we would start eating organic and feeding our body the nutrition it needs, the body wants to heal itself. It's pretty amazing.
It is. It is very amazing. Yeah. And your whole journey here of self-discovery is amazing, particularly because the first doctor you went to, if they don't understand it, it doesn't exist. And that seems to be the mindset. So I think a huge takeaway here is don't take no for an answer. You know how your body feels more than anyone else. And if you feel like something's not right, then it's not right. But there are others out there, other professionals and other experts who can help you to figure out what that is and actually bring you to a place of pain-free living. You mentioned something I want to circle back to, and it's the toxic load. I have an idea of what you mean, but break it down for us and tell us what the toxic load is and why it's so important.
Well, your gut is it's really the beginning of your health or non-health. And leaky gut is something that is important to understand before I tell you what toxic load is. Whether you're eating toxins or you're eating sensitivities, things that your body has built up a sensitivity to that are normal foods for other people, I have 18 of them, or whether you are eating GMOs or things with Roundup, glyphosate on them. Our wheat is literally doused in Roundup so that we get a bigger yield from it. And that has recently lost 3 lawsuits that they've known for 25 years that was going to cause cancer in us. But it's in all our processed food. So that's a problem. So all of those things go into our gut and they stop us from properly digesting our food. That's why so many people have all kinds of problems with their esophagus and with indigestion. And my family used to call it agita. At any rate, you don't digest your food right. So the wall of your gut is only 1 cell thick. And these 2 large particles start popping up against the side of your wall. And it replaces itself every 6 days, which I find amazing. But eventually it can't keep up. And so these little food particles start going through into your blood system. And your blood system does exactly what it's supposed to do. It screams, attack, because it's a foreigner, because it doesn't recognize it as nutrition or as food.
Right.
And so The body then does something fascinating. If I was young, I would go back and become a biochemist. The body then mimics whatever that particle is to be wherever you're weak in your body. In my case, it was my bones and my muscles. For somebody else, it might be their skin and become eczema or psoriasis. For somebody else, it could become Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. For somebody else, it could become Hashimoto's or Graves' disease of the thyroid, or it could become IBS of the lower intestine. There are 140 different autoimmune diseases, and it could become any one of them. And so you have to deal with it, because all that stuff is going into your body and increasing your toxic load. And believe it or not, you control that. If you can start to eliminate toxins one by one, you don't have to do it all at once. It took me 5 years, but just start getting rid of this stuff. Your body wants to heal, and it will automatically start to heal your gut and start to lower your toxic load. And when your toxic load gets back under the line is when you start to return to wellness.
That sounds really, really promising and really encouraging. One of the challenges, I think, is this perception, or maybe it's the reality, not just a perception, but the actuality that all of these toxins are in the foods that we're eating, the water that we're drinking. So sitting here listening to that can be kind of overwhelming. Where do you even begin when you're trying to eliminate toxins when these toxins seem to be in everything that we're eating and drinking?
Well, the first place to begin, in my opinion, is to buy my book, because I did a lot of the work for you. And I tell you what I found was toxic in my life and what I replaced it with, and how to research if you don't like my choice. My goal is to help people find hope and get well again. That's really my goal at 71. And at 71, I feel better than I did at 50. So it's worth it. So if you don't want to do that, there is a giant search engine in the sky called EWG, which is the Environmental Working Group. People might know them because they put out the Dirty Dozen Clean 15 list every year, which the Dirty Dozen are the vegetables that are so filthy dirty, you don't want them in your body no matter what. Like a potato has 39 pesticides on it, that half of them are neurotoxins. Is
this all potatoes, or just a particular brand of potatoes that we're talking about?
Potatoes that are not organic.
Okay.
Which means all your potato chips that aren't organic too. But then they have a list called the Clean 15. You don't have to worry about them. You just go to the market, you buy any of them in any form that you want. They can be organic or not organic, but that's where you start. This database has hundreds of thousands of items in it that are rated from 1 to 10. And in most cases, you can look up all the things that you're using in your life, which I did literally one by one. If your item isn't in their database, you can look up the ingredients one by one. But I did it and systematically just started removing things. And if you do buy my book, it comes with a workbook, because my thought is you don't have to do it all at once. Print, and you can read my book in any order. You can print that chapter and write down what's toxic in your life. And when you run out of that old nasty toxic item, you replace it with the new lower toxin item, so that it becomes it's not overwhelming. It's just systematic until you do it. And it's worth it to do it, because we're 37th in the world in health. 53% of our children have chronic illness. And the new statistic that turned my hair gray is that millennials' health is peaking at 27 and then going backwards.
Wow.
And I believe it's all because of the toxins. I just revised this book. It's not published in the revised form yet, to include cancer and heart disease, because all chronic illness, I think the core cause is all of these toxins. So you can own your body. You can own your health. If you don't want to do all that research, at least start by cleaning up your food. You should not be eating fast food. There's nothing in it at all to feed your body. Most processed food does not have things in it to feed your body, but there are ingredients in it that you can't pronounce and you don't know what they are that are probably causing you harm, and they're addicting you to eat more of it on purpose. And sugar is a toxin, and sugar is as addictive as cocaine.
And it looks very similar.
Yeah, and it is. And you get addicted to sugar, and what it does is all my life I've had a weight problem. I thought I had a willpower problem, ends up I don't. When you eat too much sugar, it turns your hormone off that controls your appetite. So you have an addiction. You don't have a willpower problem. I used to eat a Thanksgiving dinner and then go, more, where's more to eat? I wasn't hungry, but I was still looking for other stuff to eat. That was because of the addiction. So you detox off of sugar and you get a lot of that out of the way right up front.
Very interesting. Now, one question I had for you is, I'm just being devil's advocate here, and it's kind of a dumb question. Isn't the government supposed to regulate all of this stuff? Isn't the FDA supposed to protect us and make sure that the stuff that gets out into the grocery stores and on the supermarket shelves is safe and okay to eat? What's going on with that?
Well, yeah. Too much money, honey. It's passive. And I got really angry when I started researching that they weren't protecting me. And then I decided we need to all join together because there's an area called the Institute for Responsible Products. And he believes that just a 5% shift will start big food, big ag, big farm to start to change. And I have seen tremendous change in the 7 years since I got sick. So we need to join together and do it with our spending power because our officials are not going to do it. And in fact, not to say that the previous one was very good, but this one is eliminating all regulation and letting all the companies do whatever they want. So they're going to be poisoning us and our earth and our environment way more. And remember, when the earth gets poisoned, all of that stuff ends up in our bodies. The water that gets poisoned from the pesticides being sprayed on our crop goes into our groundwater and then goes into our streams and into our ocean. It's just pharmaceuticals get flushed down the toilet and they go into our water. It's really, you get into it, and I don't criticize people. I don't lecture people. I just live this way because, hey, I feel good and I'm not giving that up. But I want to be a good example for other people, and I want to be a source of information, because had I known this before I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, I would have started to change, but I didn't know any of this. And so I want people to be aware. And apparently it takes 17 times for people to hear this before they start to pay attention.
Well, that's pretty good for from a marketing standpoint. But you know what will get people's attention is when they start feeling some of these side effects, and when their health begins to deteriorate, and especially when they begin to feel pain, and that is usually the catalyst that gets them to say, well, what's going on here? And unfortunately, prevention is not very marketable. People want a cure, but the idea of health and prevention is not that marketable to people.
Right. No, there's no money in prevention, so it's not marketed.
The website is CherylMHealthMuse.com, and we will have that link on the Rebelpreneur website as well, so that that people can go check out that book. What's the name of your book, Cheryl?
It feels good to feel good. Learn to eliminate toxins, reverse inflammation, and feel great again.
It feels good to feel good. And so go check that out at CherylMHealthMuse.com and take a look and see if you're struggling in any of these areas. Perhaps you can find the information that you're looking for in this book and begin to turn that around the way Cheryl did. Well, this is really, it opens up a lot of lines of inquiry that we need to pay more attention. And as you say, to own our health, listen to our body, and stop letting ourselves be poisoned with the toxins and the different things going on. So this is what's wrong
with our healthcare system. This is why we can't keep up with the costs that are going up.
Yeah,
because poisons are increasing.
Yep, absolutely. Do you think it's going to turn around and change for the better, or what do you think is going to happen in the years to come?
I follow one of the most important of the functional doctors, and he just met in Washington and said he has hope. I don't see us moving in a good direction. There's a whole new group of genetically modified things coming out. Like there's a genetically modified salmon that's carnivorous. So if it gets into the ocean, it runs around eating up all the wild salmon. And it's loaded with chemicals. It's loaded with something called Bt toxin. That's the gift that keeps on giving in your gut to make you sick. So I hope so. My job is just to let people know, and then hopefully people will all start to clean up and change.
Well, well spoken, well said, and thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. Cheryl Meyer suffered from autoimmune disease, and by eliminating toxins, she reversed her pain. She's living pain-free, and that's the bottom line. So if that is something that you're interested in learning more about, CherylMHealthMuse.com is the website to go to. Cheryl, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and expertise with us today on Rebelpreneur Radio. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at rebelpreneur.com.